Hi and hello. I am so happy. By the way, I'm Cynthia Freeland. I work for the NFL Network. I'm a predictive analytics expert. I don't know what the expert means, but I am an expert guest interviewer here today. So excited to be joined by the CEO, founder of SharpRank. SharpRank's super exciting, industry-leading, cutting-edge ranking system for all of the different entities, humans, and choices from algorithms in the space of sports betting, sports gambling. I'm here with Chris Adams, who is the founder and CEO. Chris, how are you today?
I'm great, Cynthia. Thanks for having me on. This is super exciting. You are somebody listed on our platform, so this is a fantastic way to do this type of interview.
Well, listen, might as well. If I have to be, ranked by you, then I get to rank you at the end. So we'll touch back on that at the end. I just want to get a quick question for all of our viewers. Why was SharpRank founded? What were you thinking, and what was kind of the driving force behind founding SharpRank?
Sure. I was with one of my business partners driving home from the beach, and we were listening to sports radio because we're sports junkies. And a commercial came on with a guy, saying something to the extent of, "I'm Nicky Big Stacks. I'm 901 against the spread. And if you call now and buy my picks, you're guaranteed to win money." And I come from investment banking. My partner comes from financial advising. We go through a very stringent process with regulation and oversight to be able to participate in our industry. And so we were sitting there listening to it thinking, I'm sure somebody's checking this guy. You couldn't just say that publicly and then guarantee people money. So we went looking for the oversight in the industry. We didn't find anything. So we just decided we'll do it. So essentially what we did was we looked at every other industry, and whether it's Morningstar for investments, the Better Business Bureau for business, every industry, Carfax for automotive, every industry has our equivalent in it as an independent ratings agency. And so what we decided was, not only was our service to the market desired for the transparency and the accountability, it was necessary for the market to mature. So we got to work and we started logging picks manually, tens of thousands of lines in Excel, and auditing and time stamping, and then have just grown from there. So that's kind of the very tall building elevator story of where the idea came from.
Great. So let's take one step back, just in case anyone's unfamiliar with kind of the sports betting industry, just in general. Kind of what part of the market are you addressing? I think people kind of get it, what it is kind of overall, but as it's becoming increasingly legal in more states, literally by the minute, how are you sort of addressing like what's going on in this space? Because there's a lot of people who I hear it all the time. People say to me, I want to be the Robin Hood for sports betting, right? So what does any of that even mean? Like, just kind of give us this overview to level set if sports betting isn't necessarily someone's kind of core competency who's listening.
Sure. Yeah. The sports betting market, as you said, is just growing by leaps and bounds. And the approach we take is more of a picks and shovels. We service the market as this third party oversight. So as people are publicly facing and making picks, for example, my interviewer weekly makes picks, and what we do is validate that information is accurate. We are holding people accountable. We're providing transparency, and what we provide to the market is something similar to a blue check mark on Twitter, a credible source or a validated source of information, so that the people who are new to the industry know that they can find accurate information in one place that's powered by a very strong cross-sport algorithm, and they can use that information to become familiar with the industry, to if they want to place a bet, or if they just want to know, hey, does the guy I'm watching on College Game Day even know what he's talking about? So we kind of hit the spectrum of that already invested sports bettor all the way down to the general public, because as this market continues to grow, it's more readily available to discuss than ever before. I say this all the time. This industry didn't exist 5-10 years ago, and now it's water cooler conversation. And so while we are informational and providing people with educational tools and some data insights and some deep research into these folks who are publicly making picks, we also present it in a simplified format. So out the other side, you get a rating of a 5-star, a 4-star, or a 3-star. So very similar to how every investment firm touts that all of their funds are 4- and 5-star rated on Morningstar. We view ourselves very similarly to provide that sort of insight, oversight, transparency, and market validation for these people publicly out there making picks.
Okay, so you talk about kind of how you're doing it, but give me a little bit more on the what. So the platform that you talk about, the opportunities for people to interact with what I believe is actually like a community around. So you're kind of creating a community around a community, right? There's people who either choose, just like you said, to make sports betting part of their, weekly or whatever daily life, or there's people who are just curious to know if the person that they're watching on TV is really knowledgeable or not in the space. So how do you interact? Like, tell me about the platform. Tell me about what you can do on SharpRank and how it really works.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, because one of the hurdles we had to overcome is being viewed as an institution in the market. Right? Being viewed as that credible source and that third party oversight, but still communicating with our target demographic, who traditionally is familiar with social networks. They're familiar with investing platforms and those types of things. So we built our platform in a way that is both, and it tightropes both. So on our platform, you can you can share, you can follow. It's built in a way that encourages engagement as that initial mesh point where the general consumer can see where they stack up relative to people who are doing it professionally or as part of their job, et cetera. And that becomes the first real crossover between the two audiences of the expert or sharp and the general public. So our platform, as I mentioned, is powered by this algorithm that's very smart, and I am very hesitant to ever use the term AI or machine learning, because I think a lot of people don't use it and they don't actually have that. A lot of people don't even have an algorithm, but we we do have a very smart algorithm behind all of these ratings. It takes into account, for example, you see a lot of sites that post leaderboards, and what that's really, they also post content. So it's the equivalent of Ford rating pickup trucks. So our independence combined with this ratings algorithm and this ranking algorithm is really what sets us apart. That algorithm is cross-sport functional and bet type agnostic. So what that means is if you, Cynthia, let's just say hypothetically, you pick every NFL game every week, and I pick one 4,000 to 1 horse race a year. We're normalized on the same leaderboard. And the reason that's important is because traditionally every media outlet has had every sport having its own vertical. And to the extent that they could, they would sprinkle sports betting on top. Over the past 3 years, that sprinkling on top has become so big. You're seeing the rise of media outlets directly related to sports betting, regardless of sport type. So our algorithm's ability to rate, rank, and function cross sport is super important. And we kind of view that as the path forward.
So something interesting that you're saying here that I'm picking up on is your interaction with content, meaning, the type of stuff that I do, right? So it's not necessarily that you're really focused on like only saying like these people who are, I'm going to call them touts, right? It's also kind of outlets that I'm not a tout. I'm not allowed to bet. I work for the NFL. Like I don't know what gambling means insofar as, I make picks with my own algorithm, right? So the interaction with content, I think, really sets you apart. And I think people should probably like understand that a bit because, with most platforms, a website and mobile entity and all these different ways of interacting, there's push and there's pull. And you guys have kind of mastered both sides of that market, meaning you have content that you're pushing out, you're able to push out from pulling in all of this gambling content, which that's a really unique position in the market that, I'm teasing that out a little bit in you because that kind of relates to some of your Q4 goals and maybe what you're looking at kind of going forward, because that's a thread that all of these, you see a lot of, DraftKings and FanDuel and stuff, they're doing a lot of content, but they're doing direct content like a person talking on TV, right? But they're not doing what you're doing, which is you're taking the insights from the data that you're given and they're actually pushing them out. So how does that relate to some of your like Q4 goals and where are we going with this thing?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I would just real quick to the first part of that, like you don't identify as a tout. I understand that completely. When you heard about us in the market, what was your first reaction? Because we had a big question mark coming into this is like, how well adopted will we become in the market by some of these folks, not just people who are professional sports bettors, but media personalities and folks like that. Like how well, and what we found is, at least you might be able to correct me, but what we found was people really want this transparency. They want to separate themselves from that snake oil salesman in the market. So it is hopefully your experience was similar to that. But what when you heard about us, what was your initial reaction?
Well, at first I was wondering how you would normalize. Like I sometimes I'm gonna use the word like frustrated because as a person who I write an algorithm that spits out as a result for every single game. Some people who, because I'm not in the gambling space, I'm gambling adjacent. The stuff I do relates to gambling, but I'm actually trying to like, I want a Super Bowl ring for like helping a team too, right? So at the end of the day, I was like, well, is it unfair that like all 16 games that I'm having to pick are being compared to someone's best 5? And then once you and I talked and we figured out like the normalization and how you're actually doing it, you're not just keeping a leaderboard of like, Cynthia picked, 6, this week she went 6 wins and 5 losses or whatever it is, right? Like that you were normalizing it for kind of what was happening in the total market. Like then I'm like, okay, now they're on to something, because there's a lot of people who try to track us, and I've been fully I have a whole, my whole stuff's on TV. Like I'm not hiding from it. I love the transparency in the marketplace. I just didn't like the fact in the past that like some people only have to pick 2 and I have to pick 16 and you're putting us like, come on. So I think that the thing that really makes it's sticky and interesting and the true transparency is I can't be a flip flopper. I'm held accountable. I'm on TV and other people can, right? So I like to know how it goes in the marketplace. So then I can see where I'm not doing as well. So then I can work on my own algorithms to make it better, right? I like the fact that I think this whole market is about transparency to create community, right? So you are creating community with someone, even if maybe for 4 hours only. I'm a Cowboys fan for 4 hours because my model said that the Cowboys are going to win. So I'm going to be a Cowboys fan for 4 hours. That's it, right? So we're in a community for 4 hours and it's fun and it's joining people together. We saw, especially last year, like you're creating communities around this stuff. So being totally transparent about wins and losses, absolutely, bring it on. I love that. So that's kind of how I felt once I realized you normalized it. At first I was like, another thing, just counting all 6, you know what I mean? And then we talked and you told me what differentiated it. And that was kind of it. So, really, like I said, where are we going with this, bud? What's next?
Yeah. So that's a great question, right? And so as we push out our mobile app this fall, the cross-sport functionality is available. So in the fall, you'll have the opportunity to see baseball data, college football data, NFL data, and ratings for the people who pick those games. You'll also be able to make your own picks and be a part of that algorithm, get your own rating and see how you stack up against people who are doing it publicly. We will begin to include other sports as the fall continues to move forward. So hockey, basketball, college basketball, all those other sports that then come into the mix as we move fall to winter to spring and et cetera. And then including, right now there is the opportunity that we are looking at, and we're calling it our Terminator bracket, which is to just have a separate bracket for predictive machines and analytics machines and rate and rank those against each other. So that's still in the works, but it's getting whiteboarded with a lot of eraser, just like everything else. And so as we move into that, it will become a year-round type of thing. One of the things you hit on is the community aspect. And what's the most frustrating part about fantasy sports, right? There's you have to go from platform to platform to platform. That doesn't exist with us. If you have a friend group that you really like playing fantasy with, and you, Cynthia, like picking football, and I like picking college basketball, we can be in the same group and play year round, all the way around the calendar. So our platform is really built that way to foster communities, to promote that transparency. And it, like I keep saying, like, our algorithm is super smart. And so there is information in there that's pulled out for you that we do, not just a ratings agency. So that's our mobile app launch, and beginning to include additional sports, our Terminator bracket. We have some strategic partners that we're really excited about, some fairly decent.
Like who? Who are your current and existing ones? Where are we going? I know that was my next question. That was perfect.
Yeah. So we have an affiliate program with a bunch of different sports books. We are if you're looking at our information and you want to go use it to place a bet, you are welcome to do that. We are not a sports betting site at all. But we are complementary to both sports books and media outlets. So the media outlets can leverage us very similar to how a T. Rowe Price would leverage a Morningstar rating for one of their funds and create content around it, et cetera. So that's kind of how we operate and how we identify partners. So we are looking for partners who. Look, there are going to be two people in this industry, right? There are going to be those that adopt transparency and get to leverage it as a strategic dominant position in the market against competitors. And then there are people who are going to let the wave crash on their head. I said it from the beginning, and I will reiterate it. Our equivalent exists in every market. It is necessary. We are necessary in the market. So if you are a media outlet, and we've seen quite a strong group of media outlets come to us initially who are looking to post their SharpRank right next to their author, have us become the exclusive ratings provider for them, et cetera. That type of market adoption is going to lend itself well to those media outlets. So I realize I bounced around who on all of that. That is somewhat intentional.
Listen, you're a CEO. This is what happens. This is just what happens. But can you tell us your business model then? How about that? You have your partners being launched. We get it. There's going to be we'll hear about it, and then we'll hear about it. Obviously that's to be expected, but give us a little bit more about your business model. Like, is it subscription based? So from a user, from when I go to interact with it, like, how does it work?
Yeah, great question. We get a lot of people saying that, like, oh, I have to pay a subscription fee. No, it's a completely free service. We're providing information for you. You come to our site to find information, find community, find transparency and accountability. Charging for that seems a little strange to me. So yeah, I know that makes us no better than the people we're rating. Yeah, so it's a completely free platform. We, from a business model standpoint, we monetize through affiliate channels. So if you are to use our platform and tunnel out to make an actual bet in a legal sports betting state to one of our affiliates, we have advertising. And then there's some other monetizations from a longer term goal as we begin to increase. But as a consumer,
Yeah, once you announce those secret partnerships, got it.
yeah, but as a consumer, you can be very confident that it's a completely free platform. You're not going to get into the app and then find, halfway in, oh, I have to pay if I want more information or access to certain picks or whatever the case might be. That's not what we're about. We're here for.
You're not about that freemium lifestyle. That freemium lifestyle, just not into it.
No, it's, look, yeah, it's just, it's not, we want people to find validated information, and we think the market grows as trust grows in the market. And because we service that market, we do better when that market grows. So we plant the seed on transparency, let it grow, and service it on the side.
Okay, so we talk about transparency, right? So give us a little bit about, first of all, who's your team, number one, and football team, because you know what, you're going to have to be tied to that. This is a sports situation, I have to ask. And two, kind of who are the key members on your team? Give us a little bit about you, like transparency about who are the people behind SharpRank.
Well, let's start with team. So that's a good one to start with. So I am a Baltimore native. So I'm an Orioles fan, I'm an Orioles fan and I'm a Ravens fan. And the interesting thing I always hear from people, specifically from Cleveland, is they're very salty about the Ravens in Baltimore. And I always tell them, I didn't have a team growing up because the same thing happened to us, So the Ravens showed up when I was at the perfect age for a football team to show up, and then they were very dominant super early. So I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I love defense and crowd noise, which is just inherent to me. So those are kind of two of my teams. I do, for some reason, I've always loved, I've always loved Texas football, for whatever reason. But that's enough about me. None of that shines through in the platform. I can promise you that we're completely independent and third party. And from our team, we have a super, super strong team. Very, very strong. We were able to pull in, our CTO has worked in startups, for 9 years. He came to us from one. Very, very smart, incredibly smart. He has 3 developers who work under him. We have a operating officer and marketing officer who came from a very big marketing firm. We have as I mentioned, a financial advisor who comes over and helps us with finances, and a in-house Top Gun flight instructor as well.
And who are you? What's your, you're a good leader, right? Because you don't even talk about yourself.
I'm the CEO. And then we just brought over a head of partnerships from a big bank as well. So,
well, you were at a big bank. Okay, your background. I get it. You don't like talking about yourself, but I'm going to make you. This is an interview. We got to do it. What's your background?
Sure. Yeah. So I started my career doing M&A of professional and semi-professional sports franchises. I then went to KPMG for a few years and then went down to get my MBA, which is where I found our research officer and our operating officer down at UVA, and came back to do investment banking, predominantly sell side for technology and data and cyber companies. prior to I jumped ship to do this full time 2 weeks before our first kid was born. So I've become a polarizing figure in both sides of our family. So
bless your wife. That's all I have to say.
oh, I will just go on record as saying she has been incredible. Like, I work more hours. I think she's probably the only person who says she wishes her husband was back in investment banking for the hours. But she's been just absolutely incredible. And then, we were fortunate to very early on bring on some very strong investors and impactful investors who operate as strategic advisors to us throughout this process. So they've been a tremendous help for us, not just from introductions, but how to think through process, what the industry outlook looks like, where there might be an opportunity, et cetera. We're very fortunate that we have some of those folks helping us out as well.
You talk about, where there might be opportunities. So that leads me to a very important question. Anyone listening, anyone who could potentially be a good business development strategic partner, someone to work with, what are you looking for? How are you looking to grow in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. We are looking for innovative approaches to the market. So, for example, we're having discussions right now with a company that creates L bars for live broadcasts that become interactive on the screen. So as you're watching a match, there are integrated, personalized L bars for you to watch, to interact with, to click on, and becoming sort of a tie-in to what they're doing with those L bars. So as we move more and more into this world of live betting, that those types of opportunities where we love analytics companies. We're partnered with a great analytics company right now as a plug-in to their software. And using our data set in a meaningful way. Media outlets use our data set to create content about which way the experts are leaning, and knowing that they're getting validated information. Any sort of innovative approach, we are all ears, because I think this market is going to continue to evolve and look very different day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. We're very early in this market. We are super young in the maturity life cycle of the sports betting industry. And so our introduction now, we liken it very similar to prior to being regulation or oversight in the stock market. And so we're trying to do that early for the industry to help it grow and help it expand. So if you have an innovative approach.
Yeah. So I thought you were talking about innovative approaches. What's a campus captain?
Great. Yeah, great. We have a campus captain program, which is, we went out and found 35 kids at universities across the country, who will act as an independent contractor, a sales force for us. A lot of that is them liking the product we're putting out. And the other side of it, our side of it, is identifying the right person who has not just a sphere of influence, but grit, hustle, creative thought, and different ways to approach what that looks like. It's very entrepreneurial. They are compensated to go out and get people to adopt the platform, and they can build their business how they want to build it. If they want to bring on friends and or have partners with local radio stations, et cetera, that's even better. And so we are days away. Days away from unleashing them on the country, but they are traditionally at least for the fall, they are at a big college football programs. So those are the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Floridas, the Michigans of the world. All of those sorts of schools to be out at tailgates and hanging out with friends and going to parties or being involved in campus clubs or any place that they think they could find a sticky user, which we've helped them identify. The green light or the flag is about to drop. So we're very excited about them. We have a really, really great group of folks.
So, okay, one more that's kind of like selfish, but we're going to ask it anyways. So when you get the data that supports the picks of people like me or whomever, whenever that happens, how do you get that data? How do you have it? How do you get this? Where does it come from? Right. I mean, I post mine, but not everybody posts theirs. So give us a little bit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It has evolved. I mentioned earlier, we started just combing through every possible outlet and social media we could and logging, timestamping, auditing, etc. Manually by hand, and that was quite a process. That was a pretty heavy lift. Fortunately, we have a number of people who log their picks with us. So we built our mobile app. As we mentioned, it's a tool for community and transparency. It is also a tool for people who are sharps, touts, personalities, whoever the case might be, to take with them any place they go. And the pick functionality is super simple. It's very easy to do. And you just let us know and we'll tie your account to a Sharp account and you can go in, make your picks and be done.
So you can be the Sharp. You can go on record. I like it. I like having receipts for anything. So one last one, then I'll let you go. You've been awesome. I really appreciate all the candor and telling us a little bit more. Just highlight some of your funding to date. What can we learn about where you're at in the life stage of this company?
Sure. Yeah, we raised our the definitions of funding rounds have blurred so much over the past 5 to 10 years, but we called it an angel round. We raised 1.4 million relatively quickly, thanks to a lead investor and some of our other investors who were super impactful and helpful. So we raised that, and then we used it to, a lot of it's focused on product. I think there's two approaches people can take. They can use that money for marketing and sales, or they can build an outstanding product. We chose the latter, and thought of a creative way through the college campus captains and some other different channels to market and advertise. So our focus was very product based, algorithm based, and so we built out our platform, which is live in the app stores. You can check it out on Apple or Google Play and download it. That's as salesy as I'm going to get. But so
you're doing my job for me. Yes. Google Play, Apple, go download the app, go follow it this season. You have about a week and a day or a little bit, whatever, until the NFL starts. So go get those picks in, go be a Sharp, play against me, play against everyone else. It's a really fun experience. Chris, I cannot thank you enough for all of your candor. I hope that I did an okay job being a fake expert, interviewer. Maybe we can have some transparency from Sharp ranking on how I did as a guest interviewer. So happy to have that be rated. Really appreciate you. You did an excellent job being interviewed. Five stars. Can't get better than that. Thank you.
Five stars. That's this algorithm. No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Look, we're super excited about the product we're putting out in the market. We're super excited by the adoption we've got and the partners that will begin to become part of what we do. And get out there. We're available for you. One of the campus captains said they're going to be they're going to be using the term "bet smarter, not harder." That's not mine. So thanks again. This was super, and looking forward to seeing how the fall goes.
Very excited. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.